Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Shows Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, and I want to talk about another celebrity who is being accused of sexual assault. And he is being sued, and this time it's rapper Fat Joe. And it is beginning to be so draining. I thought the Diddy trial was draining. In the beginning, it was literally gross to read the details. I would find myself frowning up my face and, just feeling so grossed out. And then after that, the grossness of it all kind of tapered off. But it's just lawsuit after lawsuit. I actually don't instantly think money grab by the people who are filing, but I think about the obsession with sex and the lack of self-control, and how some people may think that because they have a lot of money, their net worth is seven figures in the millions, that they can just do whatever they want, regardless if it is morally corrupt, if it is against the law. They just think that they can do whatever they want because they have a lot of money and they happen to be famous. Now, before we get into the details of this latest lawsuit, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. All right, so we're going to go through a couple of a blog posts. One is from the Jasmine brand about the initial lawsuit against rapper Fat Joe, and then we're going to get into Fat Joe's lawyer's response. Okay, so let's do it. And also, if you want to hear the first 65 pages of the 157-page complaint, head on over to Conscious TV's YouTube channel. He is exhausted right now. He's probably taking a hot shower to go to bed, but he covered the Tyler Perry case earlier today. Then he went live again this evening. He stopped at 65 pages, y'all. He was exhausted. He said he was cooked, fried, baked. And so if you want to hear the first 65 pages of Fat Joe's lawsuit, go head on over to Conscious TV's YouTube channel. Okay, so here we go. Fat Joe's former hype man Terrence T.A. Dixon is suing for $20 million, claiming Fat Joe engaged in coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, exual manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion. According to reports, the allegations detailed in the suit are so disturbing that a trigger warning kicks off the 157-page complaint. Dixon claims the What's Love artist forced him into humiliating situations, including sex acts performed under duress and surveillance, accompanied by threats of abandonment in foreign countries if he refused compliance. He estimates that he was coerced into more than 4,000 sexual acts to maintain his standing within the enterprise. Dixon also alleges that he personally witnessed Fat Joe engage in sexual relations with children who are 15 and 16 years old. Allegedly, this includes a 16-year-old Dominican girl who, in exchange for cash, clothing, and payment of her cell phone bill, would perform oral sex and other sexual acts on Fat Joe, allegedly. The suit also notes another alleged sexual relationship Joe had with a different minor, claiming Fat Joe began having sexual relations with minor Doe, too, when she was 15 years old after a concert overseas. Defendant flew minor Doe 2 to New York City and Miami, Florida on multiple occasions. I'm just going to briefly stop here. When I read this earlier, I said, oh no, flying the young lady allegedly to New York and Miami, that's trafficking, okay? Due to minor Doe 2's body being adolescent and not fully formed, defendant paid for her to get a Brazilian butt lift. And I want to stop briefly again. So, gentlemen, if you find that a young girl's body is still like a little kid, then maybe that's your sign that you don't need to be effing with her because she is a child. Why? First of all, you shouldn't even find children attractive or sexy. They should be little kids that you should want to protect. Like, you shouldn't have to, relationships shouldn't be this. I just feel like, people don't really care about the average person. Like, it shouldn't have to be you help conceive that child for you not to want to touch them or violate them. It should just be a kid, period. You were once a kid. Would you have wanted every adult that came into contact with you to violate your boundaries and traumatize you? But if you feel like her body was still adolescent, maybe that meant that you weren't supposed to mess around with her. I remember, so in my dorm room, I was in college when the R. Kelly SEX tape came out. This will only take me a couple minutes. So we all know that allegedly an aunt of the young lady in the video, she found the tape and she distributed it, and that's how it got out in the media. There was hardly any social media. This would have been the early 2000s, like maybe like 2001 or 2000 or something like that. So there was like Black Planet and MySpace. I don't even think Facebook was quite out just yet. Or around the corner, but not quite out. And then back then, streaming was illegal. So it was illegal to stream music, videos, but we were all doing it anyway on this app called Napster. Shout out to Napster until the US federal government shut it down. So on Napster was where I watched R. Kelly's SEX tape. The young lady, you could tell she was a kid, but unfortunately, you could tell that that was not her first sexual experience. At the time when I was watching the R. Kelly SEX tape, I hadn't even gotten none yet. I was still, a VIRGIN. The young lady, she was 14 at the time that her and R. Kelly did what they did. It was in that huge room in his house where it had the wooden panels and it kind of looked like a sauna. When he graced the cover of Vibe magazine, you could tell Vibe, they did the photo shoot in that same room. So although you could tell she was a kid, the way she was moving and working her hips and stuff, you knew that wasn't her first experience. I remember watching it in my dorm room thinking, oh my gosh, she's more experienced than I am. And I'm like 20. So by the time the tape comes out, she was 17, but she was 14 when she filmed it. And R. Kelly, I'll just say allegedly, he was very strategic with him recording women. The tape had the nerve to be edited. There were two other women in the video, but they looked like adults. It was, two separate. It was a total of 3 different females. One was the minor in that wooden panel room, and the other 2 were adults in different areas of his house, and it was edited. But the whole wanting the little girl, that's just way too much. And had other people hadn't enticed that little girl that was in the R. Kelly video, she might not have been able to work it and get down with him like she did. And she was the young lady, you could tell he had given her some liquor and she couldn't control herself. And she went, on the bathroom on his end tables. And he got mad and he returned the favor on her body directly. And hence we get the golden shower and the Dave Chappelle skit. Okay, so now I'm back on course. Let's get back to Fat Joe. According to Dixon, Joe even once considered leaving his wife for one of the minors he was allegedly involved with. In addition to Joe, the suit names Pistol Pete Torres and Richard Rich Player Jospetri, who Dixon claims are key associates in Fat Joe's criminal enterprise. Jay-Z's Rock Nation, reportedly Joe's representation, is named as well. The actual allegations are just a part of the suit. It also accuses the defendants of engaging in deliberate tax fraud schemes and Fat Joe of making DEATH threats against Dixon. It's important to note that this lawsuit comes after Joe sued Dixon in April for slander. Fat Joe has not spoken on the lawsuit at this time. So then obviously his lawyer has made a statement since then. We're going to get into that in a moment. Now, this Dixon guy, he's naming other people, including Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Nobody appreciates being named in this sort of thing. But Fat Joe has already sued him for slander. So there's definitely bad blood between the two of them. And I'm wondering, it's just a question that I'm posing Mr. Dixon, if he ever partook in anything. He's saying that he was forced, he was coerced into some actual acts. But, I have to wonder, was he ever down with it? You know what I'm saying? And then along the way, they must have fallen out. Perhaps it was over business or maybe over a woman, I don't know. So the details are lengthy. As I said earlier, it's a 165-page complaint. And what really disturbs me is the allegations of doing actual acts with minors and minors who are from foreign countries. Some might say that they are third world countries. So there could be even more people impoverished than it is here in the States. And so it doesn't take much to kind of woo these girls into doing whatever you would want them to do. And all you have to do is offer them cash and to pay their cell phone bills. They're not of age. They're not educated and working. So it's not like they have the wherewithal to say, buy me a house free and clear and just put my name on the deed. Pay off my student loans, buy me a car, all three, you know what I'm saying? So all he had to do was flash some cash, probably just a couple $100 maybe, and get a cell phone. But hopefully these things are not true. But I want to now go ahead and get into the response from the lawyer. So just 1 second here. Going to share my screen again. I have the other tab pulled up with the update from the attorney. So here we go. All right, so shout out to the Neighborhood Talk. This is where I saw the response from Fat Joe's attorney. So we're going to go ahead and get into it now. So it reads, Fat Joe's lawyer responds to $20 million lawsuit accusing Fat Joe of having sex with minors, fraud, actual abuse, and more. And in quotes, it says that the attorney for Fat Joe says, law enforcement is aware of the extortionate demand at the heart of this scheme. Okay, so Fat Joe's attorney's name is Joe Tacopina. And he is saying that this is all a part of a scheme for money. They're also calling out Mr. Dixon's attorney, Tyrone Blackburn. And Tacopina says Blackburn is abusing the courts. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, why does that name sound familiar to me, Tyrone Blackburn? We first learned, at least I'll say I first learned of Tyrone Blackburn back, I'd say like in 2020, when he launched lawsuits against the rapper T.I. and his wife Tiny, when women were coming forward accusing them of, like allegedly spiking their drinks, and they will wake up really sore around their kitty cat. And Tyrone Blackburn was involved in those suits. He was also involved, or is involved, with a lawsuit against Bishop T.D. Jakes. With a young, Tyrone Blackburn reportedly is representing a young man who is saying that, he was violated by Bishop T.D. Jakes. Tyrone Blackburn was also involved in a lawsuit against Jay-Z when a Latina who lives down south in Alabama said that in the early 2000s, when she attended an MTV award show, that the rapper violated her. We all know that those charges against Jay-Z were dismissed. So that is the backstory on Mr. Blackburn, and I will leave it up to you all to come to a conclusion. So Mr. Attorney Taco Pena is quoted as saying, the lawsuit filed by Tyrone Blackburn and Terrence Dixon is a blatant act of retaliation, a desperate attempt to deflect attention from the civil suit we filed first, which exposed their coordinated scheme to extort Mr. Cartagena through lies, threats, and manufactured allegations. We didn't just sue a disgruntled former employee trying to revive a false claim for 15 years ago. We sued the lawyer behind it all. Tyrone Blackburn has a well-documented pattern of abusing the courts to harass defendants and generate media attention. 2 separate federal judges have condemned his conduct. One for filing headline-chasing lawsuits full of salacious and baseless claims, and another for making repeated legal misstatements and personal attacks in court filings. He is now the subject of a pending referral to the Southern District's Disciplinary Committee. Law enforcement is aware of the extortionate demand at the heart of this scheme. The allegations against Mr. Cartagena are complete fabrications, lies intended to damage his reputation and force a settlement through public pressure. Mr. Cartagena will not be intimidated. We have taken legal action to expose this fraudulent campaign and hold everyone involved accountable. So in Attorney Joe Tacopena's response, he is saying that Mr. Dixon is a former employee and that he is just filing this lawsuit because they filed a claim against him. And then he calls out Mr. Tyrone Blackburn. I have to say, I know that this is just pretty much like a statement for the press, but Attorney Joe Tacopena, he's a very strong writer. Right out the gate, I'm leaning towards Fat Joe. The only thing we have to make sure that he ain't never did nothing with no minors, okay? And did not get a minor no Brazilian butt lift. Now, if it's all lies, he's gonna have to somehow convince those women to come forward and say, no, I was 18 at the time, I was 19, I was 20, and I wanted the Brazilian butt lift, and he was generous. If it's not true, I hope it's not true. I just feel like there's just so many women that's of age. Why would you want a little girl and then you still find her body adolescent, so then you pay for her to get surgery? But I feel like, even if someone is trying to set you up for the okie doke, if you're being very wild and actually deviant with your money and your fame, you are positioning yourself to get sued. All it takes is a liar to say that, it was not consensual, they were forced. And then if you're into experimental drugs and you drink, that just opens the door for a lot of trouble. And your net worth is in the millions. Like you have to play it safe. Like I look at the celebrities whom you never hear them in a scandal, and they live like a normal life. Like the singer Tamia and her husband Grant Hill, they're married, their daughters are in college. Their oldest daughter, I believe she's graduated college. Both of them are athletic and I believe both play basketball. Tamia and Grant live in Florida. They just live like a normal life, and I think that that's much safer. I get it. Sometimes people get HORNY. I get it. You enjoy having sex. But why can't you experience those feelings with one person, with a spouse? What's wrong with that? And it just seems like in the communities of color, the Black and Latinos, with the more money that a man has, it's just so hard for them to commit and calm down. And I know the press has died down concerning him, but with Shannon Sharp, not only is there like not a commitment going on right now, but then he likes girls that's like 35 years younger than him. That's a lot. That's almost old enough to be her grandpa. And in some families, that could be their experience where the grandparents are just 35 years older than the grandbaby. So I just feel like the money just kind of makes some of the men feel like they can do whatever they want, and they can be actually deviant. But you position yourself to get sued. What do you think about this lawsuit against Fat Joe? It is disturbing with the allegations of being exual with minors, but then there's also the Tyrone Blackburn factor, and this person being a former employee, and Fat Joe's attorney, Joe Tacopina. His writing was very strong. He made some good arguments in his response. So I have a feeling Fat Joe, he could very well win this. Let me know in the comments though. I thank you all so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video and please subscribe to the channel. And I will talk with you all soon. Bye.